Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a snow day. I just got a text, and I bet you did too, that C&M campuses are closed, which really doesn't affect us much since we're working all online. But if you are enjoying a snow day, have fun playing outside in the very, very cold. Snow is still falling, and stay warm. And you probably also got a text that the C&M database, or sorry, the data center was flooded on Sunday night, but it was repaired. So we're back in business. You're welcome. Maybe you're thinking, I wish I could take a real snow day. Well, you can if you want to, but you got things to do this week. So I'm going to show you what they are. If you don't do them today, you can do them tomorrow. Let's get started. Okay, let's go to content. And we are in week 6. And here is Picasso smiling at you, or something. We're going to be talking about essay structure and writing about the arts and sciences. They may seem very different, but they're actually quite related when we're talking about creative nonfiction. I know not everybody here is going to go off and become a novelist or an essayist or a creative writer, but and many of you may be going into the sciences. There are many fantastic essays, artful books and essays written about the sciences. Science writing doesn't have to be dull or boring, and writing about art doesn't have to be confusing and ethereal. It can be very much in the physical world. So that's why these two topics are put together. And let's take a look at what we're doing. Structure is one of those magical things that we know it's when it's broken, but we don't notice when it's working necessarily. That's because the reader is guided carefully, thoughtfully through time and through transitions and through lots of structural machinations that we're going to explore this week. John McPhee is a famous essayist who wrote a book about writing, and he says, readers are not supposed to notice the structure. It's meant to be about as visible as someone's bones. You'd certainly notice if we were missing bones, but you don't pay attention to them when they're there. So we're going to talk about that and more. So please read Tell It Slant, Chapter 6, Writing the Arts. It will be very helpful to you for our blog this week. And please read about nonfiction structures and containers and the looping essay. This is a short little piece, but it'll be kind of foundational for you. It'll help you think seriously about the various moves you can make as a writer. This particular talk is put forth by Lee Gutkind, who is the founder of Creative Nonfiction. It is a literary journal. It's also an online literary platform for publishing creative nonfiction. He is a teacher, a consultant, and he's kind of the guru of creative nonfiction as a genre. And he gave this talk about how to write about the sciences in a way that is engaging and storytelling, so that people remember the lessons they learn about science because it's couched in story. It's helpful and useful and I think informative. If you haven't already, please review Burroway's essay on plot or chapter on plot, because that explains the foundation of the most common plot structure there is, the Freytag pyramid. You've probably worked with this before when you wrote a narrative for your English 1110 class. If you didn't, this is a good place to get started. It is the gold standard that you are welcome to use, but it is not the only way to go about structuring an essay. If you haven't already, please review your personal essay prompt. It has all the links to your readings and different approaches to the assignment, so have that handy always. Some of you already read My Friend Lodovico, and I'm so glad you did. If you did last week, please take on one of the other or two of the others. On Touching Ground is about it's about art. It's beautiful. Seltzer's The Knife is one of the most gorgeous essays. It's about a surgeon performing surgery. The knife he writes about in a lyric way. It's a lyric essay. The knife is the scalpel, but he You might say, well, that sounds gruesome. It is stunningly beautiful. I think you'll be taken by it. My friend Lodovico, as some of you know, is about Mazzello's relationship with a painting. This TED Talk, My Stroke of Insight, is the story of Taylor's um, stroke. She is a scientist who studies the brain, and yet she lives through her own stroke, and she talks about that experience. It in a way that is both scientific, artful, well, I'm going to add a third thing, and spiritual. So there's a lot going on here. It is a spoken piece, but it has a structure. So I want you to take note of how she presents it as you view. This week, you're going to write your journal about playing with structure. You're going to pre-write some of your essay and play with ways in which you can present the elements. I would like you to choose something that will appear in your essay so that you can play with something you might use. And the reflection blog is to write about at least one of these, even though I want you to read or view two. You're going to choose the one that is most meaningful to you, but you might have reason to be well informed about the others because you're going to be responding to your classmates in their posts. Let's move forward. So please read my lecture notes. This kind of explains a little bit about how to play with structure. This is the standard Freytag pyramid that you've probably seen 1,000 times, and links to our different readings. A little bit about time travel, how we can move in time in our stories. And you might have seen Pulp Fiction. That's a classic example of a story told out of time, and yet we can piece things together. There are different approaches like bookending, starting in the middle of a scene, going into backstory, coming back through the plot, and then ending in that same scene. They call it bookending. There's reverse chronological order. There's the collage where you just mix and match things thematically rather than in sequence. There are lots of ways to play with your essays. And then you can watch this cool little video if you want to about The Shape of Stories by Kurt Vonnegut. If you don't know who he is, he was a famous novelist. Slaughterhouse-Five is one of his most famous pieces. I think you might enjoy him. He's known for presenting difficult material with humor and insight, and a lot of weird. He's got a lot of weird going on, and that's his signature. It's great. Moving forward, this is your journal about playing with form. You're going to first start by writing a piece from your upcoming essay, whatever that may be. If you don't know what it is, that's okay. You can start playing here. Present it in chronological Freytag pyramid order. Try to give us a ground situation, an inciting incident, rising action, climax, falling action, and reflection. Briefly, you're not writing the whole essay. You're just doing kind of a little sketch. It can be 1 or 2 paragraphs. You don't need to go nuts. Just lay out the basics of what you think the story might be. And then rewrite, playing with form. You can do the bookend. You can do reverse chronology. You can do something more. You can look at the different models in the readings and also in Tell It Slant, where it gives you the examples of different ways to approach structure. Play with them. Try a different method. And then reflect. So there are 3 parts to this. You're going to have your Freytag pyramid version, your revision version, and your reflection on it. What worked well, what didn't work well, what was confusing, and so on. Here is a model. This is not, I don't want you to take apart an existing essay. I want you to write about your own. But here's an example of a redo of Annie Dillard's Living Like Weasels. And here is a very Freytag pyramid-y, straightforward overview of the plot. And here is a different version starting with the climax and then a reflection on how it works. So that gives you a little model about how to go at it, but I don't want you to take apart another essay. I want you to write your own. Okay, moving on. Your reflection this week is the art of description. Now, interestingly, when we write about art or science or any other thing, the more abstract the concept, the more difficult it is to pin down to earth. If we write about love or truth or beauty, what the heck does that mean, right? That's just, it's airy. It's really hard to grapple with, and it means different things to different people. But if you give us concrete sensory detail to describe those abstract concepts, then the reader is right there beside you and understands. Even if they have a different idea of what love might mean to them, if you describe an embrace or a moment with a child or your reverie in nature in a vivid way, they will understand what love means to you, right? It's you put them in your experience. So this is an exercise of taking a complex abstract concept, whether it's in science or art or whatever, and writing it in a vivid, detailed way. So the first part is to choose a passage from one of the readings or viewings that you have offered you this week. The Knife, My Friend Lodovico, My Stroke of Insight, or the fourth one. Anyway, you know what I mean? Choose one. You're going to read two of them so you know what you're dealing with. Choose one you want to talk about. Choose a passage or two from that piece that you want to write about and explain to the reader why and how this is working. Are there similes? Are there metaphors, figurative language? In what ways does the passage appeal to the senses? In what ways is the diction or cadence poetic or not? Why is that working? Why does that capture the imagination? And then apply it to your own writing. Take a passage that may write a paragraph in which you describe a piece of art or music or a scientific concept, something that is a little hard to wrap your head around, and put it in concrete detail. This exercise is a little more challenging, and I think you're up for it. And so you're going to post that by Saturday, respond to 2 people by Monday. All of these exercises are in service of your essay. I hope you realize that any practice you do in these exercises can be employed in your final product. But also, all of these exercises will serve you when we move into our larger and more complex project, which is the literary journalism piece. You will be doing research later on and writing, combining it with writing a nonfiction essay. That's what literary journalism is. It's research combined with creative nonfiction. So the piece, what you're doing here, you will still be doing, but you're adding research and weaving them together. When that happens, it's going to be even more important to be able to describe the information you gather in concrete terms, but also in a way that is part of your storytelling. So all of this is in service of the larger work you're doing in the course of the term. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have questions. I will be in my office hours on Thursday at 10, but if that time doesn't work for you and you'd like to chat about your work or ask questions, please know that I'm available. Send me a message or an email, and I'm happy to schedule a time to talk with you personally. So take care, have a great week, stay warm, and I look forward to reading your writing as always. Bye-bye.